Hello friends and welcome to another WoW video. Today is going to be a tier list, entirely subjective to my opinion, on the most fun specs to play that I have played. There are a couple that you'll see on the list that I have not played and that will go in the not played tier. But everybody else I will rate from S tier being the absolute best and most fun to D tier being the most painful to level and play, and the ones that are just not super fun, at least to me. So without further ado, let's jump into the first spec for today, which is going to be my Frost Mage. Now, I am talented currently to the Frostfire hero talent tree, which is a lot of fun, really good for burst damage and AoE kind of thing. Just a lot of good utility. Obviously, we have roots as a Frost Mage as well. In PvP, you've got some good options there. And yeah, I mean, it's just really in a good spot right now. Ever since I saw that spoiled for the hero talents, I thought this is fantastic. And I remember a long time ago that I was playing, I forget when, I could not tell you, but Frostfire Bolt was in the game at that point in time. This was however long ago this happened to be. And I was very happy to see it actually come back to the game in some capacity. So that was pretty awesome. Overall, I would give currently Frostfire a A tier. I wouldn't say it's the best of the best, but it is a dang fun spec, especially for farming out delves. You've got all the AoE to bunch up all the packs of mobs and just kind of set brand to healer and just kind of go. Next up is Fire Mage. I'm basically just going to go by spec here, group them by class, and kind of go from there. So we'll go like all the mage specs, and then Druid, Hunter, so on and so forth, that kind of thing, but it'll be spec by spec as we continue. Fire Mage, I'm currently going to put probably in C tier. End of Dragonflight was pretty cool. I'm not really having a lot of fun actually leveling it, which is a little bit different. Not a huge fan of where this is at currently, but I mean, it's okay. I still enjoy it for running like legacy content and all that good stuff, but that's honestly about it. So C tier for this one, kind of middle of the road. Not my favorite by any means, but still fun to mess with for low level stuff and all that good stuff. So, and next up is going to be the last mage spec. That is going to be Arcane Mage. If I can remember where it is, there it is. Currently right now I would say also sitting in C tier. Ever since they did the rework on not being able to use arcane missiles whenever you want, it's honestly not as fun. I did enjoy it at the end of Dragonflight for what it was worth, but that was honestly all I had with experiencing the class, so it wasn't really as great as I thought it had originally been. So yeah, not super happy with the rework on it. I still enjoy running legacy stuff with it. You know, farming mounts, being able to teleport wherever is incredibly useful as well. But that's honestly all I could say on this one. I still do PvP with it from time to time, but it's just not as good, I think, as it used to be for where we're at currently. So that is about it on this one. All right, now we're going to jump into the Druid specs. So the next four will all be Druid. We're just going to go all in a row. Bear, Cat, Balance, Resto, and on from there. Guardian Druid, I'm going to put in A tier currently. I am enjoying it quite a bit right now. It's a relatively simple, you know, rotation. I don't really have to worry about a lot of complexity, or honestly not a lot of button bloat either, which is kind of nice. This is probably one of my favorite tank specs right now in the entire game. This was my first level 80 also, which was pretty cool. It's just a very simple, straightforward tank to pick up. just keep your iron for up, pop your defenses if you need them. Other than that, just kind of tank and spank everything that you come across and you should be fine. This is also really good for running delves. And just kind of you pull everything, keep your defensives up, and pew pew until you can't anymore. So yeah, that was pretty easy. I'd give this one up to A tier. I'd still put it behind the Frost Mage though, because it's not quite as cool. It is neat, it's a fun hero class regardless of which one you actually pick. I think both are pretty viable right now. Lunar might be a little bit more on the DPS side, but everything else just kind of works. Alright, next up is Feral Druid. I'm going to put this one honestly in B tier right now. I have not really played too much of it since probably Battle for Azeroth, to be honest. I did play it a little bit in Shadowlands, but it was not a lot. That was actually, I played a Warlock during that time, so that was pretty cool. But I did come back to my Feral a little bit ago. Heard they were kind of broken in PvP, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I didn't actually get to try most of that out before everything got nerfed. So yeah, I'm going to give this kind of a mid-tier rating, to be honest. It's fun, you know, here and there. Obviously, all druids will be good for running legacy stuff. I do like the cat, though, the most for that, and that just comes from the ability to stealth and then dash and not have to change forms or anything, which is kind of nice. Yeah, that's pretty much it on that one. Just good for running around and not pulling everything. So yeah, that's really about it. I give it B tier. Not super sold on it. Honestly, haven't been playing too much of it lately, so that's kind of about all I've got for that one. Alright, next up is Balanced Druid, and honestly, I'm gonna throw it in D tier. Yes, they're great in battlegrounds with groups and stuff. They're probably pretty good in dungeons, but as a leveling spec, oh my god, this sucks. I cannot, for some reason, stay alive to save anybody's life, and I just do not understand what I'm missing here about this spec. Maybe it's ability, you know, setup, or maybe it's just not playing it enough. I don't know, but there's just something that does not work for me about the spec in the slightest. I am not a fan of Balanced Druid at all. I even less like playing against them if I do happen to be in a battleground with generally at least one. I just do not understand it. So yeah, I'm going to throw them in D tier here, purely from a leveling perspective. I don't understand it. I just don't. Alright, last for druids is Restoration, and honestly, I'm going to throw it in the top of B tier. I do enjoy this spec quite a lot, purely for leveling. It was honestly a lot of fun, and I just had a really good time. I get to summon trees, and I can go bear form if I need to. Generally I don't, but sometimes. Yeah, it's honestly a lot of fun. You just get to do group stuff and see the whole screen light up green, which is pretty awesome. You can just kind of toss heals on everybody, and you get to go Tree of Life and spam instant heals on everybody, which is also a lot of fun. So, yeah, seeing the whole thing light up green is pretty cool. I do like this spec as a whole lot. So, yep, you get to be a tree, summon a bunch of trees, throw heals on absolutely everybody, watch all the green pop up, and go from there. Alright, starting on the Priest class specs now. First up is going to be Holy Priest. Honestly, I'm gonna throw it in the not played section of this. And that's just because I honestly haven't played it enough to really know much about the playstyle. I know that it's supposed to be one of the more straightforward healing specs, although I'm just haven't really touched it at all, so I'm not quite sure on that one either. This one's just gonna sit in my not played because I only ever touched it during the War Within pre-patch, leveled it up to max level, at the time was 70, and that was about it. So yeah, not played on this one, don't know what I'm doing, that's about it. Alright, next up is Disc Priest, and I'm gonna also put this one in not played. I have not really touched Healing Priest at all, to be honest. I don't really know the ins and outs of the spec like one should playing Disc Priest. I know that they're really good in PvP right now, or at least they were at the time that I'm recording this. Yeah, they were pretty good for a while, best in groups mostly, or small groups I guess, so like 2s and 3s, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I haven't really played much on this one. I did the same thing that I did for my Holy Priest, where I just got it to level during the pre-patch event, and then just kind of left it at that, mostly just to have another alt to farm old raids with, and kind of went from there. So yeah, another did not play spec, and that's really all I've got. And lastly for priests is Shadow Priest, and boy oh boy did they nail Shadow Priest. Whether you're playing Archon or Void Weaver, which I am currently, it feels like a complete flavor win, S tier for sure, and that is purely because I can summon black holes, which is freaking awesome. I don't have to really think much about this one, which is also pretty awesome. I can just kind of hit all the buttons and watch all that damage show up, which is really, really fun. And yeah, you get a freaking black hole every 30 seconds or so. You cast your Void Torrent, throw a black hole at your enemies, it gives you a slow, does a bunch of damage, and then when it explodes also does more damage, which is awesome. Alright, now we're jumping into the monk specs. First up is Brewmaster, and honestly I'm having quite a bit of fun with this one. I'm going to put it in B tier, kind of between Restoration Druid and Feral Druid. I am, currently having a lot of fun with this class. It's proving to be a lot more fun than I thought it was. Now, I haven't really played it in any serious setting, but the ability to turn direct damage into like a dot on yourself instead is actually incredibly useful. You get to basically not take all of the damage up front, which is really nice, and just kind of wait it out. If you've got a decent healer, you should be fine. Yeah, honestly, just a pretty fun class right now. I feel like they're in an okay spot. Haven't seen too much on the getting buffed or nerfed side of things. So, honestly, I think you guys are doing all right. If anybody knows more on that and wants to correct me, please do, because I don't really pay attention to the Brewmaster page at all for that kind of stuff. So, yeah, honestly, just a fun spec to level with and having a good old time. Alright, next up is Windwalker Monk. This one I am going to currently put in the not played. I am kind of trying to level one. I don't quite get it all yet, but I'm slowly and surely trying to figure it out if I can. Not really sure on the whole premise of it though. I know it's, you know, pure DPS and supposedly looks really good for War Within. I have not really gotten to that point just yet, but once I do, maybe I'll have a different opinion of it. Not really sure. And lastly for the monks is the Mistweaver spec, and boy oh boy, once again, absolutely loving this class. Top of S tier for me right now. Absolutely my favorite spec in the entire game to play. We are eating really good this expansion to, you know, just kind of do everything. And it's making a lot of impacts. So yeah, it's honestly really fun to play right now. And I'm just enjoying the hell out of it, which is pretty cool. So you basically just get to do DPS, make sure your Jadefire Stomp is up, and just kind of go to town, honestly. Just watch the screen light up green. Alright, next up we are going to jump into the Demon Hunter specs. There's only two. It's the only class in the game with two specs. And we're going to start with Vengeance Demon Hunter. I'm going to put this one in B tier as well, right behind where Brewmaster is. I am enjoying it from a leveling perspective, which is pretty cool. I'm actually having a lot of fun learning the whole sequencing thing and kind of how it's working. But it's also fun to just not be able to die whatsoever. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, this overall is just another fun tank spec to play. It's easy for leveling because you basically don't die as long as you keep your defensives up, and you should be fine. So, yep, all well and good for Vengeance Demon Hunter. Alright, and next up we have Havoc Demon Hunter. I played this basically through Season 3 and Season 4 of Dragonflight, and I have not really touched it since then, so I'm not sure how it's doing in this expansion, but off of those two, I would put it higher. But because I have not played it really this expansion, I'm going to put it in, honestly, the not played, because I don't know any of the new stuff or how it looks from that perspective in this season so far. So, yeah, I mean, it was really overpowered in... Oh, wow. That just happened. Well, you just saw that happen on screen. I fell rushed through the floor and fell out of the world. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, if you guys have news or anything on the status of Havoc, let me know. This one is going to be sitting in my not played spec list for right now. Alright, next up we're getting into rogue specs. First up is going to be Assassination. I believe that's this one here. I'm like 90% sure. Could be wrong. Right now I'm going to put this in probably C tier, or the back of C tier. It's fun. I just am not quite sure what I'm doing with it. I know it does good damage, but that's really all that I know. Yeah, honestly, I thought about putting it in the not played. I have played it a little bit. I've gone up a couple of levels, but I don't really understand the play style completely still. So I do have some learning to do on that end. But it is pretty cool in PvP because rogues are awesome at that. And yeah. So bottom of C tier from a leveling perspective, and that's really about it. And next up on the rogue list is going to be Outlaw Rogue. Now, I have not done much with this spec, honestly, ever, but it was the spec that I farmed out the legendary Dragon Soul Daggers on, so that's kind of really all I have to go on. Obviously, you can one-shot everything, given how old the expansion is, but it was fun to kind of learn it that way and kind of get the rotation down and do it all that kinds of stuff. Plus you get to be like a pirate type deal, which is pretty cool. But honestly, I am going to throw it into D tier with Balanced Druid. And And that is because I don't really like the play style all that much. It is cool to an extent, but you have to rely a lot on your roll the bones stuff to actually get good procs off of, and not just totally whiff on damage. So yeah, not a huge fan of that type of thing. But other than that, it's okay. It's good for running legacy content because you can just stealth around all the actual mobs and just kind of go from there. So yeah, that's really about it. The only other thing that I've noticed with this one that I get to do because I have the legendary daggers is the on-use slow fall that gives me dragon wings, which is pretty freaking cool. And I don't have one to show for subtlety because I actually do not have a subtlety rogue tune at all. I just never made one, never played it, never leveled it. I don't know anything about it. So that was just going to go straight up in not played. I haven't touched it, never have. I probably should at some point just to finish my list of all of the classes. So yeah, I don't have any footage for that one. Just a quick jump in that subtlety is not something I've ever used. But I probably should at some point. Now we're going to jump into hunter classes. First off is going to be my survival hunter. I'm going to throw this in A tier, probably between the frost mage and the guardian druid. I really did enjoy my survival hunter at the end of season 4 of Dragonflight. They got a major rework going into War Within, which was honestly desperately needed, giving us an actual decent defensive, which was nice. The extra charge on survival of the fittest was really cool, and I just really enjoy the play style that is survival hunter. It's different than honestly a lot of other things that you'll see. I especially enjoy it in battlegrounds because nobody ever expects it, which is kind of cool. So you can kind of catch people off guard with that sometimes if you're not quite sure what to do with it. So that's pretty neat. Next up is going to be Marksmanship Hunter, and I am going to throw them in probably B tier as well. Honestly, I'll put them above, I'll probably put them right after Restoration Druid in terms of the fun and the leveling. Right now, I am running the Dark Ranger talent tree, which is honestly a lot of fun. I know the Marksmanship rework is kind of in the works right now for leaning away from the pet side of things and kind of getting them into the Lone Ranger kind of class fantasy type deal, which is neat. It's cool. I do enjoy it. I don't have too much to complain on there, and I believe it's my dad's favorite spec in the entire game, since he basically has played it ever since he got the game way back in vanilla, which was neat. So yeah, honestly not too much to complain on here, and yeah, so good spec. And lastly for the hunter specs is the Beast Mastery Hunter. One of the specs that is probably the easiest to pick up and play for like beginners and stuff like that, kind of like Rep Paladin. It's got a pretty simple rotation and is easy enough to figure out the basics for, to kind of just enjoy playing the game in a casual sense. But for me, I'm going to put them in C tier. I'm going to put them below Fire Mage, but above the Assassination Rogue. And it's not a bad spec by any means. It's actually quite good. It does feel a little clunky at times, I suppose, for lack of a better word. Or maybe I'm just missing something that makes it feel less clunky. Not really sure on that one. But yes, it's still a good spec overall. And yeah, so I would give it kind of a middle of the road pass and kind of go from there. Next up, we're going to jump into Death Knights. First up is going to be Blood DK. This was actually my first ever real character that I went through and leveled and actually played to any extent. So Blood DK, right now, I'm going to put it in A tier. It's going to be probably here, I'd say, next to my Survival Hunter. Not quite as fun, but still fun nonetheless, because we get to do all sorts of fun stuff as Blood DKs, which includes not dying, which is honestly the whole thing for it. You can basically pull entire zones by yourself and just not die to anything, as long as you've got your bone shield managed, and if you need your defensives, go ahead and use them. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty solid. You know, you're plate-wearing tanks, so you're very hard to kill. Even if you get low on life, you've got plenty of ways out, and the self-healing on a Blood DK is almost the best in the entire game, at least for, you know, what it's supposed to do. So, I mean, that's kind of our whole thing, is to use our life as a resource, and that's exactly what we do. Next up for Death Knights is Frost Death Knight. This one is actually a lot of fun right now with being able to summon the 4 horsemen and all that good stuff. Either that or you get a giant scythe that does crazy damage. Both hero talents are pretty cool. I am going to give this one, I hate to crowd the B tier, but I think that's kind of where it belongs. I am going to put it probably below Brewmaster. I think I'm going to honestly move Feral down to C tier, right above the Rogue, because that just feels like a better fit. But yeah, I am good with Frost DK in B tier here, mostly because you just get to do crazy damage. The end of Dragonflight was a pretty good spot for Frost DKs. And then we got nerfed into the ground for no apparent reason several times over the past couple of weeks or months. Not honestly sure how long it's been. But we still do decent damage while being able to kind of hold our own as best we can, at least. And I still do enjoy playing this spec a lot, so we're just gonna kind of keep it at that and keep on moving. And lastly for Death Knights is Unholy. This one I'm going to throw in the not played, because right now the only one I have is level 37 Unholy Death Knight, and I have no idea how this spec works at all. So I guess there's that. Yeah, I don't really have a clue as to how this class is supposed to work. It's like dots plus pets plus something. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with it, and I just know it looks kind of cool, I guess, and it's got some stuff. Alright, now we're getting into Paladin specs. Protection, Holy, Retribution are the 3. We're going to start with Protection, and honestly, I'm going to throw it in S tier. I'm probably going to keep it in the 3rd spot right there. This is also the tune that I farmed out my Seisberg, whatever it is, this cool looking mount. I farmed it using this tune. It made running the follower dungeons super easy, which is I guess technically the quickest way if you want to farm out all those materials. It's a lot of fun. It's very in the meta right now, I believe. So yeah, a lot of fun and very enjoyable. Next up for Paladins is Retribution. It's a simpler on the side of classes to pick up for beginners, kind of like the Beast Mastery Hunter thing that I kind of went on earlier, but it's still a very fun class to play. They've been through a couple of reworks. I think Season 2 of Dragonflight was the biggest one recently, that kind of shaked things up quite a bit, and it's an interesting playstyle. I haven't done too much with it this expansion. I played the heck out of it last expansion though. It was incredibly fun, and off of that I'm going to throw it into A tier, kind of at the back of A tier. It's kind of where we are at with that. But yeah, I mean, it's still a super fun spec to play. You get your big damage windows and your hammers and all your glowing things. Still get to do a whole bunch of damage all over the place. however you want to do it. You can kind of do whatever you want. You've got your failsafe with Divine Shield and all that good stuff. So yeah, kind of a really good place right now. I mean, you don't really have to think too hard about much of it. Just make sure you're keeping yourself up to par on the heals and you should be fine. Alright, and lastly is Holy Paladin, which I believe in the next patch is actually getting a bit of a nerf. It's kind of been up and down for them for a little while, but for me personally, I'm going to throw it in D tier, probably the top of D tier to be honest. We're going to put it like that. I'm not a huge fan of the Spec. It's a weird playstyle to me, and I don't quite understand it, to be honest. Make sure to have some damage to make your holy power work, and then just spray heals on everybody. But yeah, that's really all I've got on that one. Just not a fan of the playstyle overall, and that is why I gave it the low rating. Alright, next up is going to be the Warlock class. We're going to start with Destruction, because that is the one that I have actually leveled. This was my main through the entirety of Shadowlands. That's what I played. Haven't really touched it since then, to be honest with you. So right now, I'm going to put it in, I guess I'll throw it in C tier for right now. But I know it's a pretty basic build and spend kind of class. So you just kind of build up your soul shards and shoot chaos bolts and stuff. And you get to summon a big infernal every once in a while. It's still, you know, a fun class to play. I like some of the visuals on it are pretty cool, but that's honestly all I've got for it, since I haven't gotten into the new talent things yet. All I've got for that one. Next up for Warlocks is going to be Affliction. I haven't played too much. I did level one a little bit some time ago, but right now I'm going to put it in the, I don't know, that's a good question. I think I'm just going to throw this in not played. Same thing will be with Demonology, and that is just because I haven't really messed with either of the specs a whole lot. I've done like some leveling with both classes, but nothing that's like in any serious kind of capacity, so I don't really have much to kind of go on for either one. Both of these for me are low level tunes. Yeah, that's honestly about it. Both of those are going to go in the not played because I haven't really ever played them beyond the first like 20-30 levels, and I don't really have much to kind of go over, so that's about it. Alright, and next up we are going to talk about Evokers. We're going to start with Augmentation, which is going to automatically sit in the not played spot because I have no idea how this spec works. I remember when it got introduced, you know, when it came out in Dragonflight, and people were like, wow, this is cool, and then it got totally busted for a little while, but that's honestly all I remember. And I don't really know how it's supposed to work. I know it's really good in groups and stuff like that, but that's honestly all I remember, is it's really good for that. Next up is going to be Augmentation Evoker. This one I'm going to put in B tier, kind of near the back. I obviously played at the beginning of Dragonflight, so I remember the day that these were made a thing, and I've honestly enjoyed it thoroughly through the entire expansion. It was a lot of fun to, you know, learn and see all the ups and downs that it went through, which was kind of cool, and it was just a fun class in general. So you get to do a lot of upfront damage and a lot of good burst as well, so that is pretty cool. So yeah, that one's pretty fun. You get to do direct air bombing runs, which is pretty cool with the new hero talents, which is really, really cool looking. So that is neat. Alright, and lastly for Evokers is Preservation. They were kind of stupidly broken at the beginning of the expansion. I leveled one all the way up. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm going to put it in A tier. I'm going to put it probably third place in A tier right now. It's incredibly fun, and you get a lot of AoE heals and cool stuff like that. And honestly, just a fun spec overall. Good healing, and all around just good stuff. Next up is Warrior. We're going to start with arms. It's big, it's clunky, it does good two-handed damage, but honestly not a huge fan of it. So you're going to get in, honestly, D tier. Not a big fan of the playstyle. It's very slow, and I honestly prefer Fury to it. So yeah, that's really the only reason why. Because I like Fury better than arms. So even though they have similar play styles, I just like the way that Fury plays a lot better than arms does. It's faster, feels like you're doing more, even though you're probably doing about the same. So yeah, arms just kind of sits there, too slow for my tastes. And that's really about all I've got to say. Alright, next on the list is Fury Warrior. They are gonna go sit in A tier as well. This spec is a lot of fun, and I enjoy it thoroughly. It's much faster paced than the Arms Warrior, and I honestly just enjoy it a lot. I picked it up, I don't know, Season 1, I think, of Dragonflight, technically, and just kind of played it on and off through the expansion. This expansion is doing very well for Fury Warriors and all that good stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm just enjoying it a lot. I wouldn't say it's the greatest, but I do have a fun time playing it, and I think I'm just gonna keep on using it as I do. So yeah, A tier for this one. Lastly, for Warriors is Protection. I am also going to throw Protection Warrior in, I'm gonna say, probably A tier. I'm gonna put it probably right between those two. This spec got a crazy overhaul, both thematically and mechanically, for War Within, and it was incredibly fun to watch the Mountain Thane warriors, the ones all about the Thunder Stomp or whatever it is, Thunder Crash, something or other. Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun to play right now. They are getting kind of semi-reworked in the next patch, but I still find them incredibly fun to play and kind of mess with. You get to combine lightning and steel, so it's pretty cool. A tier. And finally, we get to Shaman. We're going to start off with Restoration Shaman, which I've tried to pick up a little bit this expansion. It seems really strong in group healing, not so strong in single target healing, but good enough to be put on the B tier list. I'm going to put it behind the Evoker tier up there, but the group healing is pretty dang strong. Pretty solid for what seems to be the most part. I don't really have any issues with it per se. It's pretty decent for leveling. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it is pretty good. Alright, and almost last, but not quite last, we're going to jump to Enhancement Shaman. Definite S tier. They have been feeling really good to play this expansion, kind of all around. You just get to spam a bunch of lightning and everything and just kind of go ham with it. The Tempest build is very strong once you kind of get it up and running. It's pretty solid. So yeah, I mean, you got killer AoE damage with your instant chain lightnings and such. You get your Tempest off, you just spam all of your lightning things and kind of go from there. You get your Spirit Wolves up and just kind of go with it. And last but not least, we have Elemental Shaman. I just posted a video on this on Sunday, I think. It basically almost broke my computer. It was lagging severely while I was recording that. But this is definitely going S tier. I'm going to put that right behind Mistweaver Monk and just ahead of Shadow Priest. So yeah, this is the tier list as it stands. S tier, best of the best, is Mistweaver, Elemental Shaman, Shadow Priest, Enhancement Shaman, Protection Paladin. A tier being Frost Mage, Survival Hunter, Fury Warrior, Prez Evoker, Protection Warrior, Blood Death Knight, Guardian Druid, Ret Paladin. B tier, Restoration Druid, Marksman Hunter, Brewmaster Monk, Frost Death Knight, Vengeance Demon Hunter, Devastation Evoker, and Restoration Shaman. C tier being Arcane Mage, Fire Mage, Beast Mastery Hunter, Feral Druid, Assassination Rogue, and Destruction Warlock. And D tier being Holy Paladin, Arms Warrior, Balance Druid, and Outlaw Rogue. The only specs that I put in the Do Not Played for various reasons are ones that I legitimately have not played, or ones that I just have not played in a long time. Those being Holy Priest, Disc Priest, Windwalker Monk, Havoc Demon Hunter, Subtlety Rogue, Unholy Death Knight, Affliction Warlock, Demonology Warlock, and Augmentation Evoker. That'll do it for this tier list video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave your comments, let me know what your guys' favorite classes are. And that's all I've got. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.